How's it going, guys? Today I want to talk to you about a really amazing German brand of watchmakers called Laco. They've been around since 1925, and they're actually one of the handful of German watchmaking companies that were allowed to produce watches for the German Air Force in the 1940s, right around World War II. And I believe they're actually one of the only handful of companies that still produces pilot watches to this day from Germany. I think one of five companies, perhaps. So let's talk about this watch. This is their classic 42 millimeter Type A pilot watch dial. Um, and let's talk about the dimensions first. As I mentioned, it's a 42 millimeter diameter case. It's about 12 millimeters thick. From lug tip to lug tip here is 48 millimeters. And then with respect to your strap, the lug gap here is 20 millimeters. It's actually a really nicely designed watch. It's an automatic movement. I believe it's called the Laco 821 caliber. It's really a Miyota 821A movement. So with that movement, it's a manual wind here. It's got a rotor, so it's self-winding. It's actually got a display back, so I'll flip it over now and show you. So you can see it's a 21 joule 821 Miyota movement. I think it's about a 40-hour power reserve. My only gripe about this movement, I mean, it is fairly robust and a nice movement, but you can't hack it, which, for a pilot watch where precision is key, I just assumed they would want to incorporate caliber movements that you can pull out the crown and hack and stop the seconds hand. But aside from that, it's pretty robust. I mean, I've had this running now for about 3 days nonstop, and it's about plus 7 seconds a day, which is perfectly acceptable. So let's talk more about the dial in a little more detail, get a little closer. It's a very nice, symmetrical dial. And with a Type A pilot watch dial, you just have your hour markers all around the outside ring there. And you don't have too much else. There's no date or display or anything like that. And again, all this was just to be super legible for pilots when they were trying to navigate. So the only other branding you really have is the Laco stamped at near the 12 o'clock position. And then you can see it says made in Germany at the bottom of the watch face around the 6 o'clock. Legibility on this watch is amazing. Basically everything lights up. It's got the C3 Superluminova on it. And that's one of the reasons that really drew me to purchasing this piece, is just because I wanted something that was very visible. And I've had other pilot watches. I think you may have noted I did a review on the Hamilton Khaki Pilot, which is a Type B pilot dial, which essentially means instead of having your hour markers on the very outside, it would have the minutes on the outside chaptering there, and then you would have the actual hour in Arabic numerals in the middle of the dial. And it was a bigger watch, and it didn't loom up as well, and it wasn't as symmetrical because it also had a day and date display. So I really kind of just prefer this clean look. You also get a really nice sapphire crystal on this watch. I don't know that there's any anti-reflective coating on it, but honestly, with markers this visible, and including the hands as well, I love it because the handset, not just the hour and minute hand, but the second hand that you can see with that green loom there, it fully lights up. And in fact, I'll switch perspectives quickly just so I can give you guys a really quick loom shot, and you can really just see how well executed the loom is on this watch. Hey guys, I just wanted to switch perspectives quickly and just kind of give you a really good idea of how well this Laco pilot watch looms up. It uses the C3 Superluminova, and what I really like about this is that it's not just the outside chaptering or indices that light up, but the second hand fully lights up, and obviously the hour and minute marker hand does as well. But I mean, it's just really potent loom. And I'll just actually do a quick comparison with my trusty Seiko here. So this is my Seiko Turtle, and Seiko obviously uses Lumibright, which is really the best in the business, in my opinion. Um, but if we're looking at Laco here, I say it's pretty on par with the Lumibright technology from Seiko, which is really saying something. They both last a really long time. I've had the Laco on my nightstand, and after your eyes adjust to the darkness, this stays loomed for 4 to 5 hours. I would say it's still legible at night for sure. All right, so after discussing the loom, I'm just gonna flip it over so you can see the case finishing. It's kind of like a bead blasted finish, not too many polished edges at all. So, it doesn't really attract a lot of fingerprints. I like the crown. It's in the classic pilot fashion style. You have that really nice onion crown. The knarling on it is really nice. It's very easy to operate, again, for manual wind. Even with thick gloves on, not a problem whatsoever. So that works really well. Let me flip it over and talk about the case back. So the case back for this watch, it's fairly bare. All it indicates is that, it's a stainless steel watch with sapphire crystal, water resistance to 50 atmos or 50 meters, which is standard for most pilot watches. Again, with the onion crown, it's definitely not a screw-in crown, so I think that's like, you're basically your point of failure. But 50 meters water resistant, it's more of an acceptable, you can wear this like in the rain, in the shower, but I wouldn't trust it in the lake or anything like that. And if you're a pilot and your plane is in the lake, you got bigger problems to worry about than getting your watch a little wet. Let's talk about the case back, which is kind of nice. I don't know that this is a sapphire glass. It doesn't really indicate, but they decorated the rotor. You can see that it does say Laco watch on it, made in Germany. And yeah, it does, a really good job so far of keeping time with the power reserve. And again, it's so easy to manually wind as well. Let's move on about the strap, which was actually a really nice treat that they did. This is probably the thickest and most robust leather strap, factory leather strap I've ever seen. I didn't measure this, but it's probably about 4 millimeters. You can see it's got the rivets at the apex here, which is like typical of your pilot watch. It's got some really nice stitching as well, signed buckle, and I'm still breaking it in after 3 days. But I mean, I love the length of it. I love how thick it is. I will throw it on the wrist just so you guys can see how it wears, and you get a better understanding of what I'm talking about with the strap as well. And there's a wrist shot, guys. So you can see, well, I don't know if you can tell, but for 42 millimeters, I would say it wears slightly larger, closer to a 44. But overall, I mean, it's just a really nice fit. And look at this thick leather strap here, guys. I mean, it's easy enough to swap out with a 20 millimeter lug gap. I would like to maybe see this on a NATO. I don't know how it would look on a bracelet, but you have those options. But I mean, the factory strap is just so wonderful. And I think this is a really nice piece. I just love how clean it is, how visible it is. And ultimately, that's really what you want in any pilot watch. So, I mean, the last thing I'll talk about is the price. You can see these for about $410 US. Me being a Canadian, though, I paid just over 500 Canadian. That's, I mean, probably the top of what I pay. There are different variants of this watch. You can buy the same Laco with a different movement, obviously, like with your Swiss ETA movements. But the Miyota 821 is a workhorse movement. I just wish you could hack it as well. But other than that, I'm pleased with the performance of the watch. I mean, it is a little pricey for those type of specs, but what it's lacking in like the movement, it makes up for more than the dial layout, how well executed the dial is, how well loomed the dial is, and just the finishing of the entire watch in general is very pleasing. Very nice case. Love that onion crown. Love the wrist presence, guys. So that's just my quick review on, one of the watches made by Laco. Finally, I have a German piece in my collection. But let me know what you guys would like to see next, and if you have any questions or comments about this piece in general. Until next time, guys.